And we have a special guest in our studio today, Dr. Nadine Baudot-Trajtenber, Deputy Governor of the Bank of Israel. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk firstly about Israel's economy. Last year, GDP hit 2.5%, and this year it is slated to hit 2.8%. What are your expectations for 2016?
Well, the forecast of the Bank of Israel, by the way, we regularly, of course, adjust our forecast. First and foremost, we need to adjust them because the forecast of the world economy changed. As an open economy, we need to adjust them. So the latest forecasts have, in fact, have been fairly similar to what we've been saying for a while, is that the economy is growing, not very fast, sort of a disappointing, mediocre growth. But we've been in that environment for a little while already.
Indeed, and you mentioned this disappointing, mediocre growth. Actually, there was a presentation recently called Israel, Island of Economic Success. And in this, one of the co-authors, which is the president of the CFO Association here, said that actually Israel's economy is doing much better than many OECD countries and better than European economies. Do you think that assessment is overzealous?
No, I think that's true. If you look back, certainly since the financial crisis, first and foremost, the fact that Israel did not go through a financial crisis is already a relative success. But even since then, so many countries, so many rich countries have been going very protracted recession. So Israel avoided all of that. So it's true that Israel's economy, by and large, is much healthier than other OECD countries. But that says more about OECD countries than it does about Israel.
Interesting that you say that. Let's also talk about the booming housing market. Of course, people who live here in Tel Aviv are very familiar with sky-high prices. What can be done to alleviate that for the consumers?
Yeah, you're right. Housing prices have been increasing. For the past 8 years, and they've doubled in prices, in fact, since 2007. So anybody living around here would certainly feel that. There's a few things that can be done, and there's two elements to the increase in housing prices. One of them is a social element, which is, what is it doing to people's pocket, and particularly what is it doing to people at the lower end of the economic scale. And there's no doubt that we have a problem. Housing is very expensive. It's very expensive as a proportion of people's income, and therefore it's a social problem. The other question is it a financial stability problem? Meaning by that, have people taken on too much credit to buy houses while housing prices were increasing? On the latter, the Bank of Israel has done a number of things for the past few years, which are called prudential policies, which is to limit the amount of risk, the amount of leverage, the type of leverage that people are taking. So there, if you want, I think important steps were taken. Other steps have been taken also from the fiscal arm of the government, and this is to expand the supply of housing. And for the past few years, indeed, the number of housing starts and the number of housing completions have increased. And if it continues at that high level, because we are at a high level, then eventually housing prices should be reined in.
All right. Well, you mentioned credit, and of course, you are very much involved in the Strom Committee, as well as this new credit data registry. Tell us about that. How is that alleviating and creating more competition in the market?
Yeah. A credit data registry is something very important, which Israel doesn't have until now. I mean, basically what a credit data registry makes possible, it makes possible for combining the data of all the individuals. It allows basically comparisons of the risk of an individual when he goes or she goes to take on a loan. Now that's one side. The other wonderful aspect of it is that allows individuals to shop around for the loans that they're wanting to take because they now have a credit rating. It's very difficult to shop around if you don't have a credit rating because then the only institution that actually knows you and has given you, you don't know this, but has given you a credit rating is the bank where you do your banking operations. But when you go to another bank, they don't know you. So they don't know how risky you are, and therefore they're unlikely to bid for your business. And therefore, the establishment of a credit registry is extremely important to have a competitive, particularly a competitive retail market.
And what other kinds of reforms is the committee considering?
So this is something which we already at the Bank of Israel have started to undertake, and is not part of the Strum Committee, but of course the Strum Committee would strongly recommend this if we hadn't done it before. There's a number of things the committee should be reporting fairly soon. Some of the things have to do not only with credit, but with sort of I would say, the things that nobody sees, which is hidden behind our financial system, the nuts and bolts of how the money goes around, the payment system. And there we have a payment system which is antiquated, which is very concentrated, and therefore doesn't allow for competition. And it's often there that you hide competition in things that people don't really see because they're behind the scenes.
All right, and just in about a couple words, why do you think that there are so many women in the public banking sector here in Israel?
You're right. We have now many women, both at the regulatory level and also in the banking sector. I think it's a generation thing. I think we've had competent women for quite a while, and now they've moved up through the generation, and now they're at a generation where they can take on, and I think successfully, take on some of the top jobs.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insight in coming on to the Economy Show. Very much appreciate it. That wraps up our show today. Stay tuned here every week for all your global economic coverage from the Jaffa port in Tel Aviv. Of course, also do check us out on our website is i24news.tv. There we have pages for you in French, Arabic, as well as English, and we'll continue to update you on all these economic events happening here in the Middle East and also all over the world on Facebook, Twitter. Thank you again, Natalie Ehrlich.